This is Solo in the Shop. On today's episode, I just want to give an update on lots of things that are happening in my solo shop. Let's get right to it.
Whether you are a hobbyist, weekend warrior, making commissions for friends and family, or already a full-time maker, if you are solo in your shop, this is the show for you. I'm Ronald Lowe's, the host of Solo in the Shop, a woodworking podcast discussing everything from current projects, tools and techniques, decisions around running a small business, and much more. So if you frequently find yourself alone and covered in sawdust, follow my journey and we can be solo in the shop together.
Hello, friends. It's been another busy week, and there's no end in sight, which I guess is a great thing. Today is, as I'm recording this, it's Tuesday evening, the day before this comes out. And I have to say, it's been a weird day. There's been a lot of false starts, I'll call them. And it really even started before I got up. You know, I had a dream this morning, kind of pre-waking hours, that, I was trying to get something done and interruptions just kept coming up and stopping me. There was some issue with recycling, had to take care of that, and then someone showed up at the door unexpectedly and just could not complete the task at hand. And then when the real morning started, the day started kind of the same way. I was taking Bella, the youngest, to school in the morning, and halfway there I realized I had left without my phone. That's after almost leaving without my coffee, but that was a little more obvious because it wasn't in its usual place. But then Bella connects her phone to my truck, and it didn't say switch phones, and that was my first clue that my phone was not in the truck. And I was like, okay, well, that's just inconvenient, but I know I have my laptop, so there's a lot I can do with that. I can text, I can do Facebook Messenger and stuff like that with my laptop. It's just not as convenient. And so I was like, well, I'll get it later and, at the end of the day. So school drop-off happens, and I get going into northbound traffic, and it is just a sea of red lights. Boston traffic can be terrible, and usually my commute is the opposite, right? Everyone's trying to get into Boston, and I'm leaving the Boston area and heading north, and usually my drive is very quick, speed limit ride the whole way. This was red lights, and so I look at the GPS and it's like 53 minutes of delays, and I was just like, this is the universe telling me, just go home, get your phone, reset. And that's what I did. I took the first exit, banged a Yui, worked my way back to the house, got the phone, checked in on the dog, and just took a minute to reset. And that's what I really needed. And the day kind of took off from there. So I got to work, got to the shop maybe an hour and a half later than I wanted to, but in a much better state of mind. The day was just off to the wrong start. And so reset and got to the shop and kind of got lots of stuff done. So speaking of which, we'll back up a little bit. I delivered a couple things over the last week or so. One was a nautical-themed desk, and it's actually the second time I've done it. It was sapele and maple, done in the style of a yacht deck. So like 3+ inches of dark sapele and 3/8 of an inch of maple, alternating for 24 inches deep and 3 feet long or so. And it came out beautiful. And it worked out that I made the whole thing in a matter of 3 days, 2 days, even Tuesday. I picked up the wood Tuesday morning. I delivered it Thursday night. And it just worked out that everything came together. It looked really good. The finish went on. And the client ended up, 3 miles from my house. And I was like, well, I'll just bring it to you. And so that all happened. That was very smooth. I also had a client who was a previous client, and I had made a dining table and a console table for her. And they had decided that they wanted the console table, which was a double waterfall walnut table, to be a bench. And they were going to put it on the landing under a window. And so they just wanted me to cut down the sides. So I charged them just an hour's labor to put the track saw on each end, cut off about 10 inches and, hit it with the router, sand it down, put some finish on it, call it done. It came out great. It's beautiful. I actually think it looks better as a bench than it did as a console table. So that was a win. Up next, I've got 2 live edge tables that I've got for Circle Furniture, the retailer that has been taking my live edge tables. Those have been inching along, trying to get to the point where I would have the router sled going again. I found a huge epoxy issue that I had to take care of, and that set me back probably 5 days on one of the tables. The other table was cruising along, but then I put the legs on it, and there was like less than an inch on either side of the mounting plates for the legs. And I was like, these legs are just too big, too wide for this table. So ordered new legs from Flowy Line. Those are coming Thursday or Friday of this week. So that table should wrap up over the weekend. The other table has been on the router sled, the epoxy table that finally got cured enough. Put it on the router sled, and it is probably 20 minutes away from being flat. So by the time this podcast comes out, it'll be all set. So, and then I've got the legs for that. Those are some beefy legs because it's a beefy table. I just got to figure out how long I'm going to make it and get it cut and then start a couple days worth of sanding. I've got a glue up coming, 2 slabs that are getting flattened, and then I'm going to cut those down, glue it up. It's going to need epoxy. It's the whole 9 yards, but I can't wait to get that going because that is one of the few residential tables that I'm a little concerned about how it's all going to come together. They're getting spider legs, so I'm excited to use those. Then I also have the round table going into the mansion, and that is all glued up. I had to do a little epoxy filling on that as well, and I expect that Wednesday, the day that if you're listening to this live, it's today, I'll be cutting that. I mentioned before that I've engaged some part-time help from a high school guy, this guy Brody, and he's been coming over, 5, 6, 7 hours a week, and huge help. It's low money, and it's whenever he can do it, and I have a budget, so I don't want to go too crazy, but I introduced him to my makerspace, which he had never even heard of a makerspace. But I've also shown him a lot of tools. He's been using the domino. He's been using the drill and threaded inserts and the Rotex, as well as other orbital sanders. He had some woodshop experience, but he's learning all the stuff that goes into making a nice table. And so far, he loves it. He's been a huge help to me, and I'm just glad he's able to help out because it's been crazy. I have 11 tables in my queue right now and no end in sight. There's still Facebook inquiries coming every day, and it's just a matter of worrying about how much can I make versus how much time do I want to spend versus the holidays coming up. And I really feel like I can maybe get one more table in the queue, and then I need to start promising that I'm not going to start it until January because it's just too busy. And I need to taper a little bit just so that, for my own mental health. For my physical health, Yesterday was a big day in the shop. The electrician showed up and I got heat. So I had bought a heater, one of these hanging from the ceiling electric heaters, 240 volt, and I just needed somebody to tie it in. And it took a few weeks, just trying to get the electrician to come. That's something I didn't want to tackle myself just for fear of burning down the house. And they knocked it out. It looks great. I have heat. It was $1,000, which to me was excessive, but I get to enjoy it forever now. So there's that. I got invited to set up a table at a farmer's market kind of thing in Newburyport, and I just had to say no to that one. I've been so busy with tables, and I really want to say that with the rebranding and with all the table work, I just hope that charcuterie boards and coasters are in the rearview mirror and that those days are behind me. It sounded like a really nice market. It's definitely a nice town to have a market in. So I may go attend the market and see what's there and, socialize and park my truck with my branding on it in the parking lot there. But I don't think I want to set up a market and stand out in the cold for 2 days and hope that somebody's in the mood for a off-cut based cutting board. And then the last thing that I'm thinking about is a while ago, I guess around the time that I rebranded, Pinterest lost its automatic connection to my Instagram Reels. And ultimately, the only way I was able to fix it was to go on my laptop. I couldn't do it from the phone. And I had to, reclaim my Instagram account with the new handle and reclaim my website and do all that stuff. So right now, my Pinterest content is videos that are getting fed right from my Instagram Reels. That is not perfect because I use Epidemic Sound a lot. So I have a lot of background music that I've paid for that I, get around any copyright issues because I subscribe to Epidemic Sound. But Epidemic Sound doesn't have a way to say, hey, green light all this music if it shows up on this Pinterest account. That's how it works for my YouTube channel, for Facebook, for Instagram, but they don't seem to have it for Pinterest. So a lot of my Pinterest things, I get an email that says, your video has been muted because someone else owns the rights to the music, which is fine. I don't, if somebody wants to take issue with it, I can explain what's going on. So it's just suboptimal to have my reels going in with no sound. So I think at some point, because I do think there's a lot of value in Pinterest, but it hasn't turned into sales for me and I'm not promoting anything there. But I do think at some point I wouldn't mind engaging someone who is a Pinterest expert to help me understand what I should be doing. I don't need somebody to run a campaign for me. I need somebody to tell me this is what you need to do and, sit with me for a day, maybe 2 days, and let's just talk about Pinterest and what I should be doing there. Those are the main things. I'm, thinking about the end of the year, thinking about how much Facebook Marketplace business I'm getting, and I'm getting to the point where some of those listings are getting the renew flag, where it's like if you want to keep seeing it, you got to renew it. I'm thinking about letting those kind of sit in the waiting to be renewed bucket and just hope that the inquiries slow down for a bit, because I would love to have a 2 or 3 week slowdown in December and then hit it hard again in January. They say that furniture has a season, that the table business kind of is booming, usually October, November, December. So I'm a little reluctant to turn off the business, but I do think that I need to charge a premium if somebody wants something at this time, or just say, I can't promise it before the end of the year, but come mid-January, you'll have what you're asking for. So it's a delicate balance, right? How do you maximize revenue, but also keep your work-life balance and guard against a January slowdown? Because that's my next fear, is that, it's been, my cup overfloweth this fall, but what's it going to look like in January? So hopefully January, new year, new president, hopefully new business. So stay tuned. We'll see what happens. As always, it was great talking to you. I can't wait to give you an update on what's happening. There's just so many tables in progress. And, feel free to drop me a line, SoloInTheShop@gmail.com. And until I talk to you again, stay safe in your shop.
If you have questions, comments, or suggestions for future episodes, feel free to reach out to me at SoloInTheShop@gmail.com. Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you got value from it and would like to help the show grow, I'd appreciate a review wherever you listen. Be sure to check the show notes for links to my socials or any extra stuff we discussed today. Until next time, stay safe in your shop, and we'll talk again soon.